Hey, everybody, welcome to On the Edge of Entertainment, where I invite my friends from Las Vegas and around the globe to talk about their successful careers in entertainment. And today I have Zowie Bowie.
Well, I'll tell
Hi.
you, I am so excited to be part of your show. And Coty, I'm so proud of you. I think this is great. And I'm absolutely thrilled and flattered you thought of me. Gosh, this is probably
Oh,
this is the closest thing I've done to a gig in 7 months. So to see anybody, let alone a
I know, but
lovely,
I
lovely
told you
friend like you.
it's not a paid gig, right?
I'll tell you, I'm pretty used to non-paid gigs and anyway.
Oh
So
man. Well, that's that's the whole thing about being an entertainer. And you are like one of the best entertainers in Las Vegas. You came from Arizona, and you can tell me a little bit about how you got started, but throughout time you've been in Las Vegas, you've been on the billboards, and you've just rocked this town for years. And I want to delve into all of that. But why don't you tell me how you got started back in the day?
well, gosh, thanks for the amazing setup there. That actually sounded impressive for a second.
Well, I know how to be impressive. That's my
uh,
thing.
to, to be honest, and to answer your question, um, I've been doing this, as you point out, for quite a long time, and it goes back to, quite frankly, when I was a kid, and my parents, unlike most of the kids in my neighborhood, would take me to Las Vegas instead of like Disneyland to see Mickey Mouse. I'd come here to see Don Rickles and Wayne Newton, and
Nice.
there was an impression that I got from that era back in the late '70s and what this town was all about. That I thought, man, I love the way that these Vegas guys, when you see them perform live, make you feel. When they come out on stage and they have nothing but a cocktail and an orchestra and a spotlight, and they have this kind of magic aura about them that was so intriguing and alluring to me. And there was a feeling I got sitting in the audience that I thought, man, if I could someday make people feel the way they make me feel, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I was really inspired, quite frankly, from the time I was 10 or 11 years old, to not just become an entertainer, but to become a Vegas entertainer, or a Vegas guy, so to speak, because for me, it was just as much about living the Vegas life as it was being on stage. Obviously, all through the classic era of Las Vegas, hotels had personalities that represented their hotel, and you don't
Mm,
find that much anymore. And so back in the day, you'd come to town, and you would think Sands. You would, obviously think of our iconic heroes that graced the stage and the billboards back in the day, from the Rat Pack guys and on. You go
yeah,
down to the Sahara, it was Don Rickles, or over to the Hilton, it was Wayne Newton, and now Barry Manilow. And Stardust, you'd find certain people, that Siegfried and Roy, and they
totally.
represented the brand of the hotel through something called a personality, which unfortunately I think is a little bit void these days, because now, and for many years, it's been more about production shows, which are incredible, of course, but it's not so much about a particular entertainer as it is about um, restaurants and clubs and all the other amenities that hotels now offer that weren't such a big deal back then. So when I came here 15 years ago, I kind of had an agenda and a mission to keep that maverick spirit of the city alive by having a personality branded with a hotel. And so that, quite frankly, is one of the reasons I called the name of my band my fictitious name of Zowie Bowie, instead of a band name. So they would have that connection of a human being and a personality, and the spirit of who they are connected, with this town. Because I was one of these guys that never wanted to go to Hollywood or go on tour. Quite frankly, I was never even really that interested in writing music. I just wanted to be the guy on stage with a cocktail and speaking my own uh, opinions about what this town is supposed to be about, because I think that there's generations of people that come here that need things that you can point to that are synonymous with this town. You know, back in the old
Yeah.
days, there was Danny Gans and Siegfried and Roy and Wayne Newton. And when you say these words, you don't think of necessarily entertainers that travel the world. You think, oh, that's Las Vegas. Those are Vegas entertainers. And so I always had that kind of dream to come here and be one of those guys or one of those people that is synonymous with the brand of Las Vegas. And so, like I say, once I got here, I had no intention of leaving, and I still don't.
I think that's
I never want to have
awesome.
to grow up and go home.
I know. So many people do too. You know, Vegas is kind of a transient place. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is, you know, I saw this cutest little picture of your little girl. And I, you know, and you've got her dressed up like a rock star, and you said future rock star. And I thought, yeah, I wonder if she's going to, I wonder if you're going to stay here. And, you know, I wonder what Vegas is going to look like when she's an adult.
I can't imagine. I'm just living vicariously through her youth.
How old is she?
She just turned 3 a couple months ago, and she's quite the little character. I can tell already she's got that entertainment bug inside of her, which concerns me a tad. But, you know, I'll tell you, my parents were so incredibly understanding as I grew up to every whim I had, from theater to music to anything that involved being a ham in front of people, quite frankly. And I come from a family of attorneys and educators.
Huh.
So here comes the black sheep in the family who wanted to go off to Vegas and be a showgirl.
So to speak.
But they supported that from the very get-go, and they never even really necessarily pushed me or encouraged me to further my secondary or more advanced education, you might say. I started ASU, which is Arizona State University, and I went there from 1984 till about 1984. And that was the end of that, because all I did is sit in class dreaming of what it would be like to be on stage and being able to do what was my life goal, and that was to try to make people happy and make people feel good. Because I grew up with a political family. My father was a politician. And I admired, if nothing else, throughout my childhood, how he could stand up in front of a group of people and within a few minutes make them all feel like family. And there was something about that time in my life that made me realize whatever it is I was going to do, my purpose was to just make people feel good, and whatever that meant. And for me, it just made sense to jump on stage. That, coupled with the fact that I was so influenced by these Vegas entertainers, it just made sense to want to figure out how to sing and make that music thing happen. But I didn't start singing till I was in my late 20s. I was a heavy metal drummer.
Yeah, I've got that picture. Here it is.
Oh, no.
It's great. I love it. I would have never dreamed that you had hair like that. I had to see that picture.
Well, I wish I still looked like that, to be quite honest, because I love long hair, but I'm somewhat follically challenged at this point.
I don't know. You've got the best hair in the business. Are you kidding me?
What little I have left.
Chris, nobody cares about that. It's all, like you say, it's that big persona on the stage that you represent, and you do it every night. You bring the energy. I mean, you came to town, there were billboards, and I saw that Zowie Bowie. I thought your name was Zowie Bowie for years.
Well, most people do.
I thought you were related to Bowie.
And it's the silliest damn thing as to how I even got that name, because as I'd mentioned, I was this rock drummer, but I always had this desire and this dream to be Sammy Davis Jr. or Paul Anka or you know, my idol Elvis. I grew up listening to Elvis records live from Las Vegas, and I thought, oh my God, whatever that guy's life is, I want to experience that. And so it really kind of kept me focused on doing nothing in life other than to do what I had to do to finagle my way into getting to this great city and being just fabric of the community, part of, you know. And somehow, some way, I ended up getting an offer to come here 15 years ago from Station Casinos and the Fertitas. They caught wind of what I was doing in Phoenix. And what I was doing out there is a show that was called Zowie Bowie, but it had really nothing to do with David Bowie or anything like that. That was
Mm-hmm.
just a name I came up with as a character to hide behind because I'd never sang, I'd never been up front. And I was a little scared, a little intimidated by it. So I thought, well, gosh, if I create this bigger than life persona, I can go up there and literally be me, but just kind of exaggerated. And
Well, it worked for
I
Lady
figured
Gaga.
precisely. And so I
You know.
thought, hell, if I fall on my face and I completely bomb, who cares? I'm David Bowie's kid.
You
So
definitely
it
are
seemed,
Zoe Bowie.
so as corny as that was, it seemed to work and the name clicked. And now 25 years later, I'm kind of stuck with the name because it's become more of a brand than a
Mm-hmm.
band.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fine with it. A lot of people are disappointed when they come to the show and they realize I'm not some tribute artist to the early 80s, Billy Idol, Rod Stewart, David Bowie kind of guys, even though I
They're
do a little of that in
disappointed
my
about
show.
that. That seems strange.
Some are, but but as you point out, it's worked, and I guess I'm going to be Zowie Bowie till the end of time.
Well, there you go. But I know that you've rebranded yourself in different shows as well. Like you have created a few different shows around town. I've seen some of them. It's
Well,
gone somewhere.
it has to do with the fact that, as I pointed out, what I was so inspired was by when I was young is the big show, the big band, the horn section, the impact you would get in a showroom when that orchestra came out and just knocked you back in your seat. The music they would do is the soundtrack to the city. And I wanted to keep that flavor alive when I came here, even though I was making a living as a top 40 hip hop cover band. And
Mm-hmm.
so even though I enjoyed doing what I still do to this day by doing this nightclub type concert, it was very important to me to also never forget what got me here in the first place. And that was being inspired by Frank Sinatra and that big band sound. So with that said, I developed two very different shows under the name Zowie Bowie. One is, like I point out, the party band, and the other we just simply call Zowie Bowie the show. uh, that's creative, isn't it?
Whatever you call it is great, because it exemplifies
Yeah,
you.
no, right. Well, thank you, and that's more suited to who I really am, and it's a chance for me to get to really converse and get to know the audience a lot better, because to me, everything is connecting with people. With my party band, it's one thing, but it's more about making people have a good time, drink and dance and revel in the spirit of Vegas. With my big band show, it's much more personal, and I get to really, I guess, have that connection with not just the music I love, but with people who I think enjoy that type of entertainment as well. And so, even though I don't do it as often, that's truly my passion. So I've got a 15-piece big band, that comes with horns and percussion and backing vocals and all that stuff. But it's the song selection that I particularly favor, because it's classic standards mixed with some newer type things that we do in an old traditional Vegas way, with more of a big band arrangement around it. And I'm really excited about 2021 because I'm taking things to an even bigger level, where
Oh
we're
yeah.
incorporating now showgirls and dancers and more guests and a bigger band and a much more full-bodied entertainment show, where I'm not necessarily the star of the show. I'm more of the singing host, because I understand a long time ago that I think what I'm best at is interacting with the guests that I have on stage and having almost that old Rat Pack uh, exchange that they used to have. To me, that's what is entertaining more than just me singing a song. And so I like to share my stage with the incredible talent of our city. And so if you go to see the show, I'm just part of it. I have a string of guests through the night that get to handle some of the more challenging singing role, and
Yeah.
I just get to be myself and have some cocktails, and I am literally probably having more fun than anybody in the audience. And I think because of that is what is alluring to people who ever go see a show, and that's to see a performer enjoying themselves and having fun. Because one of the reasons I got
Absolutely.
in a dance band or a cover band was because back in the mid 90s, I used to go see these guys that kind of got their start in Phoenix and Tempe, Arizona, called the Boogie Nights. I was so enamored by, wait a minute, I could be in a cover band and still act like a rock star and get chicks and free booze and ride in limos. And wow, that works for me. And since then, they're still doing their thing and they're still making a living, and as I am. And God bless people who want to go out and have a good time, because it's allowed me to completely be myself and follow my dreams and passions that I had since I was a kid, and make a living doing it. And I'm kind of proud, or was proud, to say that we were performing and had not missed a single week in 25 years
No way.
until COVID. Not a single week off.
Wow.
And that's 3 or
Wow.
4 nights a week, because,
It's amazing.
I'd pay to do what I get paid to do.
Right.
And after a couple of days off, I can't wait to get back up on the stage. And I know the guys that are with me feel the same way. And so this has been an interesting challenge, so to speak, over the last 7 months, doing nothing but sitting on the couch and getting fat.
Amen. I know.
Oh my God.
I know. Even though you don't look like you got fat, but I know what you mean. It's like just that little bit of couple of pounds here and there.
I've weighed essentially within the same 5 pounds for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then March hit, I gained 30 pounds.
You better go jogging.
So gross.
I
Thank God for this camera
machine.
just capturing my face. No, but I'm starting to lose it, because I know we're going back. And, my best friend has been the fridge and the pantry, like it's a 24-hour free buffet or something. But I will say, just really quickly, I've always been very proud to be an entertainer. It's what I've wanted to do my whole life. But there is nothing that compares or comes close to being a dad, which is what I've been able, especially over the last 7 months, where it's just me and my 3-year-old 24/7. This is selfish and possibly terrible to say, but I wouldn't trade a day of the last 7 or 8 months. It's 7 months I'll never get back, and I never thought I would have. So between that and the fact that my darling wife, who I admire for going to work 50 hours a week or so, is really keeping us going, and she's been a trooper and a soldier making it happen. And so I'm here looking after the little 3-year-old that I have, and all we do is eat and watch cartoons.
Oh, well, good for you. I'm so happy for you that at least one of you kept your job. And speaking of your beautiful wife, literally, she doesn't have to do anything else in the world besides be beautiful.
She's amazing in many ways. And, she, I think, was instrumental when she met me. She kind of made me a tad more responsible. Let's put it that way.
That's good. Life. That's what women do. We're good at that, I mean.
No, she was a godsend for sure in many ways, but she's absolutely incredible. And around the time of when COVID hit the scene, so to speak, she decided that she was going to get into something she had never done in her life, and that is to design showgirl costumes.
Oh, wow.
And the headpiece, the whole thing. Yeah. And so she started designing these, and she started doing 2, 3, 4 of these costumes. I was like, my God, these are absolutely beautiful. How can we incorporate this into my show? And so as it turned out, because of her deciding to do that, caused me to create a bigger show, and in turn now get to utilize my wife as a showgirl in my show.
And isn't it weird how that kind of thing happens with entertainment? Like this interview thing became a part of me wanting to finish a business that I started 4 years ago. So
that's wonderful. Well, you, my dear, are one of the, obviously one of the finer entertainers in this town.
Thank you.
Because not just because you're a great singer and you're amazing on stage, but you have that passion for pleasing an audience. And there's a big difference between somebody who's a great singer and somebody who's a great entertainer.
I agree.
And you have both. And I admire what you do and your longevity, and the fact that you're still doing it better than ever. I think that says a lot about you. And for me, I just soon do this till the end of the road, whatever that is, because I couldn't fathom doing anything else. I haven't had a job since 1984. Well, and so I wouldn't even know where to begin in the real world. So this 7 months, people are saying, well, why don't you switch careers? It's like,
oh my gosh,
I wouldn't last an hour at Taco Bell. I'd be like, I'm so confused.
Come on. I mean, you've been running this business, and that's definitely something to be respected.
I'll tell you, in all seriousness, you mentioned something earlier that is a crucial part to, in my opinion, longevity and success. And you hit upon marketing.
Mm-hmm.
again, there's a lot of fabulously talented people in this town, considerably more so than me. But it is a music business. And in any kind of business, promotion and marketing is key. And so if I have any advice to up and coming entertainers, particularly that are going to come to Vegas and sign on with a hotel, be it doing some kind of, as they call, residencies on a weekly basis, or an ongoing showroom show, or even if you just are a singer and you sing in a restaurant occasionally, whatever level you're at, the key is public perception of who you are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so with me, when I came here to town to sign on with Red Rock, who initially hired me, I said, before we talk about fees or what it is we're to do for your hotel, let's talk about how we're going to promote what I do and who I am. And hence the billboards and the magazines and things like that. That was structured into the deal from the get-go.
Brilliant.
And so everything I've ever done, the key factor is how are we going to market whatever it is I'm doing, no differently than if you're going to introduce a new box of cereal. Mm-hmm. You have to put on commercials. You have to have an attractive cover to lure the kids into wanting to buy it. And you have to promote it in a certain way to get people to pick it up, because when you go down the cereal aisle, there's 400 different kinds of cereal. Whether or not one's good or another is somewhat irrelevant. It's which one entices you to pick it up. Mm-hmm. So with me, I think a big part of my success has not just been my love for and passion for making people happy, but for having an understanding that you have to sell the product or nobody's going to know about it. Because in my case, obviously here in Las Vegas, I think that if, say, 75% of the people in the city know who Zowie Bowie is, maybe only 10% have ever seen me perform live. And that's the key. Because there's a lot of people who are, like I say, extremely talented in their singing, but nobody knows who they are because they've unfortunately been part of a show, and it's not about their brand name and they're not marketing themselves. It's more about other things. And so I think it would be a little more difficult for some people who don't brand themselves to have longevity compared to something that's a brand name that people go, well, I hear they're okay, I don't know, whatever, but people know the name, let's hire that. Mm-hmm. And then you couple that with the fact that we've been very, very, very fortunate and lucky that because of these things, the city has honored me with these Best of Las Vegas wins.
Yeah. How many times have you won that?
Well, we've won 7 times.
Wow. That's
and
incredible.
we've been nominated currently for our 8th time. Mm-hmm. And if we were to win this 8th time, nobody performed this year. Nobody saw me perform this year, but it's the brand name that's stuck in people's head that when they see the nominees, they go, oh, I know that name.
Yeah, we've been knowing that name for years. I mean,
so I don't claim in any way, when you're talking about entertainment, there's no such thing as best of. Everybody's best at what they do. But one thing I think, if I was to be proud of one thing that I've done, is that I think I'm one of the better people at trying to make people feel good, and to try to take a group of people from around the world, from every kind of demographic, and make them feel like they're all my best friend and we're all at a party in a backyard with a keg and a band. And I think that within a few minutes of going to our show, you get that kind of energy. And so regardless of my talent, I think that one thing that has helped us is simply that ability to bring people together as one. And not to be corny, but to me, it's all about unity. And so I think we've been rather effective in that department. And so thank God for the people of Las Vegas to honor us with these awards, because what they in turn do by having that silly Best of Las Vegas sticker on your ads or your promotional material, it then lends itself to securing corporate parties and private functions and other things that when people come to town and they're kind of clueless to what Vegas has to offer, and they go to an entertainment or an event planner, they say, well, you got 5 bands here. Oh, this one's won Best of Las Vegas 7 times. We'll take that. even though they don't
Hmm.
even have a clue what it is. And so some people think that award is silly. And even more so, there's some people in this town that think you can buy the award or place ads with the paper to win. I've never placed an ad in the paper in 15 years. It has nothing to do with that.
Hmm.
What you do have to do, unfortunately, is kind of somewhat embarrass yourself by campaigning
Reminding
online.
people that it's that time. Yeah,
I
of
hate
course.
doing that. I hate campaigning to tell people to vote for me for best. It's so embarrassing. But it's like, it's no different when I was growing up than my father, who had to campaign to become city councilman or mayor. If you don't campaign, you can't win. And
Yeah.
so with anything, as I relate it to promoting a box of cereal, it's all about campaigning. And if you
Hmm.
want anything, you gotta get people to believe in you and to support you by, you know, asking them to come to a show, promote your show, promote the best of luck, promote whatever it is you're wanting people to do. You got to ask them.
That's
And
true. You have to
that's kind of
spell it out.
a very important part of success in any type of show or product for that matter. It's all about, I can't stress enough, the marketing, promoting, and campaigning for what you do. And with an entertainer, the campaign never stops because there is no election. You're not winning anything at
Yeah,
the end of the road. It's just not. It's an ongoing campaign if you want to stay relevant and working.
it's true.
And
Unlike a
that would be
real
my
job,
advice to people.
yeah, and unlike a real job, you're constantly trying to get the next job, so to speak, or get the bigger
Correct.
job or the
Or the
better
promotion, or sure.
opportunity. So you have to keep at it. I know that very well. And
That's very true. Like people like yourself and me, you may have a successful run at a particular property, and for whatever reason, they have a change of mind and they want to take a different direction with things, or you're not doing so. Whatever the case may be, you have to not let that discourage you. Pick right back up and say, okay, where are we going to go next? What's the next venue that is appropriate for my type of show? And then you have to approach it in a way that you can't live without us unless you have us performing on your stage. And then there goes the next campaign, and it's just
yeah.
an ongoing series of where are you next? What are you doing? And luckily, I've been very fortunate. I've been with Station Casinos now for 15 years. And my other main venue that I perform at is downtown at the Fremont Street Experience.
Hmm.
And we've now been there 2 nights a week for 10 years. So I'm somebody who loves to go home to my own pillow. I'm not somebody who tours, and I don't
Yeah.
play all over the city all over the time. I'm primarily locked into these things that can build uh, a familiarity with my brand and wherever I play. So, for years it's been, Zowie Bowie at Red Rock or Zowie Bowie Fremont.
Hmm. That's
That's
true.
important. It's
Yeah.
important. Otherwise, it's like, where are they tonight? Who knows? Or how can I find them? You know
Yeah.
where you're at.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Well, you've done a fantastic job marketing. You surround yourself with incredibly beautiful women, so I'm sure that helps a little.
Well, that's the second phase of what I would recommend any guys out there is to wear gaudy jewelry and have beautiful women standing around you. Because I can assure you from the get-go, I've always been the weakest link in the chain with the
Stop.
talented musicians I play with and the incredibly talented gals that I have singing with me. But however, in the last couple of years, I, to be quite blunt, have been trying to brand myself more as just Zowie Bowie, without having to rely on somebody.
Sure.
I'm trying to break away from that. I still utilize, incredibly talented gals, but in terms of the marketing and such like that, it's primarily just about me.
Oh, that's
Um,
good. And your band is amazing. A couple of them are my friends. I know Jamie from back in the day. We used to do shows together.
she's incredible. And
Yeah.
when I bring people into my family,
Hmm.
uh, I don't hire them as a temp or somebody that I think will be coming and going. If I think that there's somebody who is appropriate for my show, as an example, my keyboard player, his name is Dan.
Hmm.
I met him 25 years ago. I said, "Hey, you want to be in this band?" And from that day forward, I said, "As long as I call myself Zowie Bowie, you have a place and a seat at the table, so to speak."
Oh,
And 25 years later, he's still in the band. And
that's
that's how it is
amazing.
with everybody else. And people come and go with things they want to do, but
Hmm.
to me, it's not a band; it's a family, and it's as important as to who they are as to what they do. And
Absolutely.
and so I would rather somebody who is the right fit personally than in terms of their talent, which
Mm,
is, to me would just be a bonus. And that
yeah.
way, because the band just doesn't just perform on stage; they have to get along backstage and in the dressing room and have an understanding of loyalty and friendship. And there can't be bickering and sourness and problems, because you then take
Yeah.
that on stage, which
Yeah.
will easily be read by an audience, and that turns them off. You have to see a group of people that are enjoying their their time on stage and their their performance, because you want to see a band that they don't want to be anywhere else other than right there doing what they're doing to me right now. And so for
Mm,
me, another big factor is, unlike most entertainers that have played roles or have scripts or have
mm-hmm.
choreography of some sort, with
Mm-hmm.
me, it's a 100% free for all every single show. I've done 6,500 shows,
Really?
and I've never had a preconceived notion of anything I was ever going to say, do,
Really?
or move. It's just
Wow.
free flowing, intoxicated silliness.
I love
And
it.
I think that uh, lends itself to people realizing what we're seeing here is completely off the cuff and genuine each and every single time. Even if they saw me 3 nights in a
Yeah.
row, they'd see three completely different presentations of some sort, even though it's the same songs. To me, in my opinion, the show starts when the song stops. If you think
Mm.
about that for a second, anybody
Mm-hmm.
can sing a song, but who
Mm-hmm.
are you when the song stops?
Mm-hmm.
That's when you separate entertainers from singers.
Mm.
That's my favorite part, because then I get to engage with people and get to be myself, and I get to revel and celebrate what's happening in front of me, because ever since I started, this has never been about me. It's been about the people who come to see me. And so I like to
Mm.
celebrate people's birthdays or bachelorette parties or anniversaries, and I bring them on stage, and it's as much about them as it is about me. And I think it's those things that uh, have attributed themselves to, again, my longevity, I guess, and
Absolutely.
and it's what makes it fun for me, is to have that kind of off the cuff fear of not having a clue what you're going to do. There's times I've been on national television or done more significant things where literally before we start, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no clue. As you know,
Well,
and I think
I
it's that.
love that. I totally respect that as an entertainer, because I definitely have to have an outline and
The
know what
structure,
I'm
of course.
doing, and then I can kind of go
I
from there,
respect that, and
you
I
know?
get it. Whereas me, I can't memorize a song, let alone for months. I have the freaking lyrics on stage for 2 months before it soaks in. So to memorize a script or to memorize choreography and dance moves and all the stuff, oh, I'd be lost. I'd be lost.
Well, here's the secret. Maybe this will change your mind. For me, the choreography helps me remember the song. Because if I'm
I
marching over this way, that's that part of the song. Oh,
triggers
okay,
the
that's what I'm
yeah.
supposed to be singing. That helps.
To me, it's just okay. My third cocktail. I don't remember anything. Where am I? Who am I? I don't know. Let's just go do it.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, it is a nighttime, nightclub type of feel, and that's the way it should be. You should be having a blast every single
Well,
time.
I'll tell you something. It's becoming more and more fun as I go. Where you would think after, like I say, 6,500 shows and doing this for 25, 35 years, it would get old. And for me, I can't wait till the next show. I can't wait for the next project. And because of that enthusiasm during this time of COVID, I was like, gosh, when we come back, I got to have something that's bigger and better than anything I've ever done. I got to take it to the next level. And so I'm very proud and excited to say that I've engineered, with the great help of a certain venue and a certain national TV network, that we're going to be doing something, for me, that's the most exciting thing that I've ever done in 35 years when we come out of this. And it's happening with
Awesome.
or without people. And I just hope everything goes smooth, but I'm in way over my head
That's okay. We
doing
learn
something
as
that,
we go.
because I've always been just the performer, primarily asked to do something in a pre-existing environment or show or venue.
Hmm.
Whereas with this, I'm I've 100. We've essentially created the environment. We created the opportunity, and I'm producing the show and everything around it. I've never taken on that kind of responsibility before, and so it's a little overwhelming, but it's so exciting, and I can't wait. And it's something that everybody will be able to see all over the country.
Well, you can do it. And, you know, you've been doing this long enough to know what that looks like. And I think it's the next step. I mean, that's what we do. We take the next step in these entertainment careers. You know, you don't want to just.
You need new challenges. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited. I can't wait to hear more about that. It sounds like a bit of a
thanks.
secret.
I'm a little bit bound under contractual agreements as to not really say much about it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
It's very
It'll
exciting.
be super successful. One other thing I wanted to ask you about, I heard that the city has named Zowie Bowie Day. You have a Zowie Bowie Day. Why do you laugh?
Well, I'll tell you something. The fact that Carolyn Goodman, the mayor, is the one who was kind enough to step forward and do that for me. And I couldn't be a bigger fan of her and the city and the entertainers that are currently performing and those who come before us. I just love everything Vegas. And so to have something that is referred to as the Zowie Bowie Day in the city that I love so much is, you know, obviously a great honor. But, you know, I'm not the only one. There's many that have got,
well, there's 365 days of the year. So yeah, maybe there's one in there for me someday. Maybe someday.
Well, you were beyond well deserving of that. I can tell you, you've earned that and more.
You're so
You are
sweet.
a true professional veteran of this town. You're exactly the kind of person I'm talking about. And the shows you've been involved are such a staple in this town that, you know, there's nobody who's a bigger fan of Vegas entertainment than me. And so I'm still in awe when I go into a showroom and I see what people are capable of doing. And
I know.
It's like almost with childhood enthusiasm and excitement.
And I think Vegas has never been as amazing as it has been in the last year or two. I mean, it has just turned the corner. It's just such an amazing place to call home and to say that we work. And I think it's just such a blessing too, you know, it's amazing.
Yes. And, you know, the fact that we get to perform in the entertainment capital of the world makes it even that much more exciting, because I love what I do, but I'm not sure if I would even want to do this anywhere else. If it's Vegas, if it's not Vegas, I don't want to do it. To be honest, I love performing and I love making people feel good. But to me, it's all about creating this energy that when people come here, there's some things they can point to that reflects the embodiment of what the city's supposed to be about. And so that's always been my whole mission here, is to just be another one of the pieces of the puzzle that can exemplify what Las Vegas hopefully has always been about and will forever be about. And that's entertainment, and that's people trying to make people feel good when they come here, because, you know, when you come to Vegas, you can do and be anything you want. And I am the living proof of that.
Have you ever had an experience that's really crazy or funny, or, you know, involving anybody famous or anything like that come up that you want to tell me?
Well, if I may, just touch on one example that changed my life.
Okay.
And it was when I was 9 or 10 years old. And it was the first time I'd really come to Vegas with my parents. And we went to the Hilton, which is now Westgate. Went into this gorgeous showroom that I knew was Elvis's home. And that was, Elvis was everything to me. So just walking into this shrine that was so influential to me, I was overwhelmed by it. And then you had people in tuxedos and everybody's dressed up. And, you know, back in the 70s, there was an era of class and sophistication that's unfortunately not quite as prevalent these days. But we were able to go to this VIP booth right in the center of the showroom. The curtain opens. Here's this magnificent orchestra that I was talking about. And out comes this overly tan, charismatic guy with this crazy hair and these white teeth. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to do that. And then halfway through the show, as fate would have it, he walks right out into the audience. He walks right to my table and he leans down and he shakes my hand and he goes, "Welcome to Las Vegas, young man. I hope you're having a great time." And he walks back on the stage and he starts singing again. Out of all the people, probably because I was the only kid in there, His
Huh.
name is Tony Orlando.
Oh.
And from that day forward, I was like, whatever that feeling he just gave me that was so
Mm.
incredibly impactful, I
Hmm.
want to give that to people the rest of my life. So I need to go to Vegas. I need to be on the stage, and I need to inspire other people to want to make people feel good as well. Be it whatever profession they're in. It doesn't have to be entertainment. It was just the
Hmm.
feeling of genuine acceptance and excitement that he personally gave me that I wanted to then give other people. And so to continue the story, move forward to just a couple of years ago, I'm in the dressing room. We were in the dressing room together, and I go, Tony, I can't believe I'm even talking to you. I got to tell you this story.
Oh
How
my
you
gosh.
changed my life. You have no
Oh,
idea. It's
wow.
a simple gesture of shaking my hand determined my life's passion and goal. He said, Chris, I can't believe you're saying this. The exact same thing happened to me back in 1962. And I was a young man, and I walked into this club. This guy came over to me, shook my hand, and he changed my life. And his name was Bobby Darin.
Oh my gosh.
It's like the coolest
That's
story.
crazy. Okay,
So,
so who's coming to
uh,
you that says that you shook their hand?
well, usually it's bail bondsman, uh, or the law. No, and it's so great because there's people that are performing now on stage and have shows that got their start by being in my audience and me pulling them up on stage and saying, "Hey, I hear you can sing," and they're like, "Yeah, I want to be a singer," and they would come to my show and I would get them up with the big band. They would do their thing,
Yeah,
and then next thing you know, they're out there trying to put a band together and they're inspired to be a Vegas, and now they've been performing successfully for several years here,
nice.
and that makes me feel like it's come full circle and that there
Yeah.
was a point and a reason for me doing all this nonsense, I guess.
Well,
So
I
I've
think,
been very fortunate to be able to, support and provide for a family, entertaining, and that's gigantic. I hope this circus train that we're all on never ends. And, that leads me to where we're at today in the climate of COVID.
mm-hmm.
And, there's no question that has been a horrific and significant blow to not just our city but to the world, and we still are trying to figure out how to cope with it and to function with the reality of that in our lives, and that it's probably not going away for a while, and how do we bring certain aspects of our livelihood back, and primarily being entertainment probably being one of the last things to um, be reintroduced to this new society we live in. And so the big
Yeah.
question is, how do we do that effectively and safely? But by the same token, we can't be afraid. Frank Sinatra once said, fear is the enemy of logic. And when you think about that, it relates to Las Vegas. The one word that does not describe the city is fear. This
That's
is a
true.
fearless town. It was
Mm-hmm.
built on, when Howard Hughes came here and put up the Flamingo in the middle of the desert, he was fearless and he knew that it would work, and it did. As with him, 60 some odd years, 70 years ago, when that happened, we have to kind of approach today with that same kind of fearless mentality, where we almost have to be soldiers to go out there and to save what's left of the entertainment business here in town, because the city is based around entertainment, and without entertainment, we may be looking at some dark days ahead, and we can't let that happen. We've got to do whatever we have to do to get people back up on stage, back working. And that's the entertainers is just a small fraction of who I'm talking about. The
Mm-hmm.
main people that I defend and want to support and get back to working is the people that make entertainment happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sound guys, the backstage people, the ushers, the hair people, the costumes, the countless army of people who depend on this hospitality industry that we live in, that are really in a lot of trouble right now. They're losing their homes.
Yeah.
They're going bankrupt. They're and worse.
Yeah.
People are really suffering, and that's become a bigger issue than the side effects and the repercussions of the disease itself. And so I'm
Yeah.
one of these people who speaks on a soapbox to bring back entertainment to save the thousands and thousands of people who are suffering. They can't just go get some other job in some other field that they know nothing about. It doesn't work like that, because our entire industry is gone. There's nowhere to go. There's the exact same equal argument. Well, what if, Chris, you do your show and somebody gets sick in your audience and it's your fault? That would be the worst thing I could possibly fathom. I'd rather never entertain again, even if I thought it gave somebody a cold. That's exactly what I'm against. I'm about making people feel better. But I do believe that the positive energy and the benefits of live performance, be it dance, theater, bands, creates a certain energy within you of happiness and excitement that in turn benefits your immune system. And the problem over this past 7 months that nobody, experts in the field to even the government officials, they never talk about how can you better your immune system. How come they don't go out and you got to eat your blueberries and your spinach and your broccoli and your asparagus, and you have to get in the sun, you have to exercise, you have to be happy. Those are the things that can combat any kind of sickness, let alone a virus. And to bring back livelihoods to so many that will override and be more beneficial than to just hide and cower and be afraid, because we are not a town based on fear.
Yeah.
We're fearless. We need to have some guts and get out there and in turn do what we have to do to keep people safe. But we are going to beat this. It will go away. We're all going to be back, but we can't let the city go down and go bankrupt and have hotels starting to shut down, because that would be considerably worse than any ramification from any kind of disease. As horrible as some of the things people and families have had to deal with. I obviously know people who lost their lives to this, as most people do. And it's the worst thing that you could fathom. Yeah. But we can't lose Las Vegas, and we need to do something.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point, because it's a dire situation, what you've expressed.
And it's not political, it's not right or left. It's just common sense of seeing a societal structure here in Las Vegas that is a brand that is extremely important to the world. This is the party capital of the world.
Yeah.
People need and rely on Las Vegas like they rely on Netflix or going to the park and playing games or doing anything with their family. It's a release. It's a place where people can come here and get away for a couple days and go home and hopefully, be more effective in their business or their family life, where they were able to blow off some steam. Vegas is an important, essential part of our society, and we can't let it go. And we're about to, and that would be a tragedy.
Oh, let's hope that doesn't happen.
It's not going to, and we're not going to let it.
We're not going to let it.
It's coming back.
It's already coming back.
It is already coming back.
It's coming back. You're building things, in the background, and things are happening. We're still working towards it. There's a ton of people out there working towards it right now. So.
Yes, and my hat's off to everybody in our industry that's doing everything they can to stay alive so they can go back to what they love doing, because people have worked decades honing in on their craft and devoting their life, not just mentally but financially and everything. And what a tragic, horrible thing that would be for the hundreds of thousands of people to have nowhere to go, nothing to do, and be lost. Where I truly believe we can turn this around even in the next couple of weeks to make it make sense. I don't want to, especially with things like I do, where I have 2,000 people standing in front of me all mashed together. That concerns me.
We need to figure it out. I mean, I feel like
we'll figure it out.
It might take some money, some reinvention, but it's got to be figured out. Got to make it happen.
Well, I'll tell you, I know that you're doing everything right, and I'm so incredibly honored and happy that you were kind enough to ask me to be on your show, and I wish you a lot of luck with it. My gosh, and we're all in this together. That's for damn sure.
Well, thank you, Chris. I'm so proud of you, and I just really appreciate everything that you do for the city. So. Yay.
As I do for you. Thank you. Gosh, and there's a lot of us doing everything we can. I'm just one of the many that make this the greatest city in the world. No doubt about it.
Definitely.